Howdy folks, Kitty Doverfell here with another lock video for you. The r/lockpicking subreddit recently has rolled out the Karate Belt Flare, and starting at the green belt level, opened locks have to be submitted by video, and you're required to show that you can pick and gut and reassemble a lock. A few folks have asked, why do we do uncut, one-take videos for locks? That answer is simple. It keeps us all honest. It provides a level of transparency. It shows that the lock that's gutted on the pinning board is the lock that was actually picked. It shows that you didn't pin up a core with just one pin, pick it, take a photo, dump all the pins out in the right order, and then take another photo. Doesn't necessarily mean a lot with, a quick set deadbolt core, but when you get into more high security locks and when you get into challenge locks like this Corbin Russ one that I got via Artemis Picks from Supalama, it just shows that the lock hasn't been nerfed at all. It hasn't been made any easier. Why do we require gutting for that belt? It's about knowledge. It's about growing your knowledge as a picker. The hacking community, the maker community, a lot of crossover there, kind of live by the creed that you don't own something unless you can take it apart and put it back together. And to gain that knowledge, we want you to be able to own all your locks. I've tried making this video about a bazillion times already, and everything from the fire department to the railroad has conspired to make it not happen. So we're going to kind of compress things here a little bit. But how do you do your picking video? Well, you set it up like this. There's no reason you can't pick in hand, but you want your lock center of the frame so that we can see the keyway. This will let us see any rotation. You probably want to zoom in a little more than I am here. I'm kind of keeping zoomed out just to cram a lot of stuff in for this video. But this lets you see, you've got your tension tool in there. You can see that as you pick, you can work your tool in there. Okay, rather than actually pick this lock, I'm going to use a very special combination picking and tensioning tool called a key. This one was custom made for this lock by the Falcon company. Actually picking this lock today is not important. It's not what we're here about, so we're not going to worry about that. But we are going to worry about keeping everything in frame for a completed take. So in this case, okay, we've gotten our open. How do we work from here on? Well, we're going to try to do everything possible to keep that lock in frame, lift our vise out, set our lock down. Okay, now we're ready to gut. What do we need to gut this lock? Well, because we have the key for it, I'm going to take the keys out. We're going to make our lives easier. You're going to need a pinning tray. This one was 3D printed, came off a Thingiverse. You can see the Lock Lab logo up there. Bosnian Bill put this up on his site. Before locklab.com went out, he had this on in his links a couple of years ago. Anyhow, great little pinning tray. If you can go that route, beautiful. If you have one of the pinning mats available, either the Lab or the Sparrows mat, those work fine. If you don't have any of that, just get a piece of notebook paper and accordion folded. And you can use each of those little valleys to hold a pen stack. The other option is get a piece of cardboard, just standard corrugated cardboard. Peel the backing off of one side, and you can see that the corrugation gives you nice little chambers for your pens. Nice, simple, easy, cheap. We're trying to make this accessible, and so I'm going to show you a few ways to do things without having to buy the special tools. So we have our pinning tray. We have our lock. Now we have to take our lock apart. This is a mortise cylinder, so you can see that tailpiece actuator is held on with a couple of little screws. If you have, standard kick cylinder, you're going to want to take a small tool like your pick and depress, if I can get it to go, working around the camera here, depress that little pin, and you're going to just turn that little piece to get it off. If you've got like a rim cylinder like this Kwikset, you've got that little clip on the back. If you go to the hardware store and buy one of those DIY rekey kits, it will come with a tool kind of like this that you can then just like the Banggood tool you've seen in a few videos, you can pop that clip out of there. So, the other nice thing is this kit comes with another tool you're going to need, which is a plug follower. We'll get to that in a minute. So, in this case, because it's a screw-on tailpiece, we're just going to use a little screwdriver. Pick that up at the hardware store. If you spend more than $5, you need to look for a better hardware store. So I'm going to take those screws out. And this is what I kind of like about this downloaded pinning tray is it's got the little well over here for all the small parts. Take the screws off, take the tailpiece off. And now you can see the back of your plug. And you're going to need a plug follower to push that through so you don't drop your drivers everywhere. This is the one from the Sparrows kit. It's one of the medium ones. And you can see it's got that notch cut out that fits over that tailpiece beautifully. Sparrows set is 4 pieces. I love them. They're anodized aluminum. They work really well for me. Remember the kit that gave us this tool that I mentioned briefly, the rekey kit? It comes with a plastic plug follower that's hollow. You know, that works just fine. A piece of 1/2-inch dowel rod. You can cut that notch in. And I actually keep a bunch of dowel rod around just because every so often I run into a lock cylinder that has a different tailpiece. And this, you know, a few minutes with a file and you can cut something custom made. If you don't have dowel rod laying around and you don't want to buy plug followers, you probably have a Sharpie marker laying around like that, or any sort of permanent marker. You can just take it off, use the body, and you'll see that actually fits in size pretty well. If you go back and look through my other videos, I believe it was a Farmer Jim pin and pin lock, I don't recall. I actually had to use the Sharpie body like that to reassemble the lock just because of the pin and pins. Always be careful. Look at your tailpiece. Make sure when you hold your follower up to it, there's any gaps or any notches in your tailpiece. The Kwikset rim cylinders are known for this. If you've got custom pins in there, you're going to want to do something to bridge that gap that could be possibly there and keep that pin from getting locked up on the follower. For that, we're going to use a shim. It's real simple. It's actually, go ahead and turn that plug just a little bit. You're just going to shove that on the top there where it lines up with the drivers so that when you put your plug follower on there, if you can see, it will bridge any gap there so your pins don't get caught. Where do you get these shims? Well, you can buy them. I know a few places sell them very cheaply. Here's my preferred methodology. Excellent movie, by the way, one of Miyazaki's best, highly endorsed. But you flip it open, and you see this little RFID inventory control tag. Keep shoplifters from stealing stuff. Well, if I can get a finger under it. We peel that out of there. And you see, it looks like that. If you turn it around, there's actually 2 of those little shim strips in there. So go through your DVD collection, you'll find a bunch of them for free. So we have our tailpiece off so that we can actually move our plug. We have our core turned. We are now going to take our plug follower and we're going to line it up. Bring it in close with the camera here. You notice I've got my key turned so that, my keyway turned so that I don't drop any pins into it. I'm holding it so that the key pins are going to be facing up. There's no gaps in our plug follower. And we just shove our plug follower through, just like that. And we see that this Falcon is actually a 6-pin cord that's only pinned for 5. Okay, turn this around. Work to the camera, not to my comfort level. Now I mentioned that if you have a pick lock and don't have the key to it, it's not any different. Just going to shove that back in there briefly. Okay, here it is. It's picked, it's open, there's no key in it. You can be careful turning that with your fingers. Just don't line it back up with the Bible. Same methodology. Just put the follower in there, and it pushes right out. We set that down so it stays on camera, and we dump our key pins. 1, see I'm keeping my fingers over the holes I'm not dumping. 2, 3, 4. Nope, that was 5. Dumped him out of sequence. There's 4, and then 5. And we flip them around. You can always set it up so that your key rests there. And you can see that the bitting on this one is pretty crummy. You can bring your core up and show if there's any milling, any serrations, any threading. There's not on this one. This one's factory new. New old stock is, I believe, the phrasing for this. Okay, so there's our plug off to the side. Now we've got our body, complete with the Bible. You're going to want to turn that upside down, push the plug follower back a little ways, and here's where you're going to want your other tool. You're really going to want a pair of tweezers. These I picked up at the hardware store. You can get specialty ones made just for pinning that have little notches on there. But you can just use them to push the plug back. And you can see there's one pin, oops, right there. And as we push him back, he's going to come up on his spring. Just lift him out, put him in his thing. You can also cup a hand here or even tip it upside down and just pull and you'll hear it click. You heard it click. Just very gently rock the follower out. You're going to do that for each pin in turn. I prefer the methodology where you push the follower back with the tweezers so you can make sure you get the right orientation with the pin, especially with homemade pins. And then number 5 just pops right there in my hand. Okay, now we're through with the follower for the moment. We've got the core. You can just tap it against the thing, get the springs out. Use your tweezers again. Springs aren't important on this one because it is factory. I'm missing a spring here. Interesting. And this is something you run into occasionally, that you might have a spring that's stuck in a chamber. Reach into the background there. And one of the tools I actually keep around just for this, picked it up at Walmart. It's just an otoscope. It's the same thing the doctor uses for looking in your ears. It has a little LED light. Ooh. And I can look down in the chamber or in the core and illuminate it. And I can actually look down in each of those holes. And then just a simple little hook like that. You can reach in there. Ah, there he is. That last pin stack spring was just stuck in there. He might be... Yeah, he seems to be caught. Oh, there he is. Ha. There you go. You can see that he just is a little bit deformed. So he got stuck in there. No big deal. So there we go. We have a gutted lock on camera. We opened it on camera. You can compare your key to your key pins. You can show your drivers. And these are kind of gnarly. They're just plain standard drivers, but there's a little bit of corrosion on there. Before I turn this into a challenge lock, it's going to need some work. You can show your Bible. Hold it up with the camera. Throw some light in there. And boom, there is a lock opened and gutted on camera. That's really all we require for proving an open. There is a line in there about reassembling a lock. Reassembling is easy. You're going to... Okay. You're going to drop springs all over the place because doing this on camera is clumsy work. Come here. I'm just going to drop the springs back in the holes. I'm only going to do those first 2 chambers on this one just to get the video out. what you're going to do is you're going to reinsert your follower into the core. And what really works well is to do it in reverse. Put your follower all the way through, start at the back of the lock, put in pin 4, advance your follower, put in pin 5, advance your follower. And what do I mean by put it in and advance your follower is, let's see if I can line this all up. Get a driver pin. You're just going to hold it in the hole. You're going to put a little bit of forward pressure on your follower. And you can see it's pressing against that pin. I can just take my tweezers and tap them down, and my follower comes forward. Do pin 1. You can see that with longer locks, doing the back and then reversing your follower, you can see where that would be helpful. Come on. There we go. So there's chambers 1 and 2 pinned up. And this is also helpful if you're learning a lock and want to pin it progressively. You're just going to drop the key pins in the right holes. And if you have the key and you've dropped the key pins or whatever, put the key in and you will see that if they're in the right order, they will line up to the shear line. So, just push the core back in, give it a little rotate so it locks in place. You can see that, there we go. I can put my key in, turn it, and it works fine. Be very careful at this point. It's very easy to accidentally pull the whole works out and dump pins everywhere. We don't want to do that. There, boom. It's been gutted. It's been reassembled. It obviously works. That's all you need to get your green belt and beyond. Well, that and some more and more complicated locks. Blue and Beyond requires one of these. It is a challenge lock that Supalama pinned up. And maybe I'll do a video about them later. But for now, get out there, get gutting, get picking, get that next belt. Have fun.